to fifth panel discussion of the Bharat Connect, everyone. So we are so much happier to see all of you here today, and we have a very exciting topic of how do you measure the touch point effectiveness of in your omni-channel strategy. So I'll go over this topic in a minute. Before that, let me introduce our panelists who have agreed to be with us today, and taking their busy schedule time from their busy schedule and be with us. So let me start with our first panelist, Mr. Balaji. So Balaji is coming from Orange Retail, and he's a CIO and comes with a lot of technology background, and so he's going to be here explaining us about how industry, fintech industry, how it is evolving, what are the things that they are doing, and from his own experience, and so a lot of good things to learn from Mr. Balaji. So we welcome Mr. Balaji to our panel today. Thank you so much, Balaji, to be with us
thank
today.
You very much.
Yeah. And next, Vidhya Veeraraghavan, so Vice President and Head Analytics at Standard Chartered Bank. So we are so excited to have Vidhya on board today, because analytics at the end of the day is playing a key role, whatever the organization we take. So they do a lot of things that makes it easy to consume any information. For example, we have 100 customers, at the end of the day, you can say it as bland as 100 customers, or you can consume that information in a different way, in a form that only coming with the analytical background and making it happen, how that can be interpreted, and how to slice it, and to make more sense out of it. So that is the background, and so we think that is going to help us a lot for today's topic and some of those questions. And we are so thrilled to have Ms. Vidhya on board today with us. Thank you so much, Vidhya, being with us today.
I'm very happy to be here, and I'm waiting to learn from others also.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It's a collaborative effort. Yeah. So the third participant is Rukmini ma'am. So she has 30 years plus experience. So is VP of Equita Small Financial Bank. So she was just going over what are the different career different companies that she worked with, the experience and everything is very exciting to have Rukmini ma'am on board here. So she's coming with a different background altogether, auditing, and how to put check on everything. So IT, just now we started the discussion already. So how IT want to solve a problem, and while they are solving a problem, there could be instance where they could overstep here and there, and put in some more checks or remove some more checks that that audit team would like to have. So I'm pretty sure she's going to have a good response for us to realize what we would otherwise normally wouldn't, right? Because so as an auditor, they see things in a very different way than what anybody else does. So that's what they are there for. Welcome to the panel, ma'am. So we are so thrilled to have you on board with us today.
Yes, as an auditor, and earlier having been into operations across the banking domain, across various verticals, yes, I have my experience, and I hope I can value add, because there is an IT guy and there is this lady from AI. So there's a lot I will carry home too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we all are going to gain something one way or other. So that's the whole idea. So so without further ado, let's jump in. I want to thank the Bharat Connect volunteers and all the organizers who are helping us to put together this questionnaires and the topics and the discussion points and help us to collect all the participants and engage with them and bring them on board today here. So we thank every one of them today. And so let's get started with the background information of how do you measure touch point effectiveness in your omni-channel strategy. So companies are today figuring out a way how they could be engaging with the customers in a different level and make it easier, and how to make it more stress-free and so things like that. So whether we like it or not, the way how we interact, how we consume information has changed tremendously, right? A few decades back, it could be a newspaper is the only way to get us some news out, or hearing a radio. And then the TV channels came, and digital media came, and smartphones transformed that into a different landscape where we are instantly being notified about something happening around the globe, literally. It has some good and some bad impacts, because sometimes too much of information, not necessarily to help you, it could even confuse you. So with this much distraction going on, and with all this excitement going on, with all the different way of reaching out to the customers consuming it in a different way, companies are engaging in a different way. So what are the different things that a company can do, or to make sure that they are available for Huawei? Probably not, right? Because if you think deeply about Amazon, they have some kind of a human touch somewhere, that enables, whether you go through whatever the channel you go and struggle, or to reach out, at the end there is an option for you to be able to have some kind of agent somewhere, ready to help you or answer your question, or solve your problem, whether it is returning your product, or dealing with some shipping delay, or got a wrong order, whatever the issue is, right? So what does that tell us? If the market leader has that kind of a human touch at the end of the day, what does that tell us? That like you know just having a different channels, is that going to be good enough? Or what is the boundary line you can draw, where that engagement, different channel engagement, what it can bring to us, and how it can help, and where do we take it over from that, and then take it to the next level where we are able to satisfy the customer at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. I we'll jump onto the questions now. Have our panelists to share their experience. I just want to share one experience that just happened this week. So I'm a I'm trying to play tennis, probably for so many years, but last 1.5 years it's been more and more regular, almost a couple of hours on a daily basis. So I buy all my gears from a website called tenniswarehouse.com. So there are huge difference between tenniswarehouse.com and Amazon website, right? I do a lot of purchase on Amazon also, but Amazon, so much easier to use. You don't have to think twice when you're buying and returning it. Everything is possible. You don't even have to think twice. Now we have they have bought a company called Whole Foods in US. So that's right next to our neighborhood. So I can just go drop it there if you don't like anything. So I don't know now, I take a few milliseconds, to decide whether to go to buy Amazon or not, because returning is so much easier. given that scenario, why would I go to tennis warehouse to buy all the tennis gears, right? So here's the thing. Um, the tennis lovers, like, they would like to discuss something and know something from their fellow players, and get some kind of tips what they would like to do, or what kind of a racket, for example, tennis racket, and then within the racket what kind of a string that I can try, right? This kind of a discussions, believe me or not, this is not going to happen in Amazon, definitely not. So tennis warehouse on the other side, it's easy. Folks are there to answer your question. You can just email, you can just call them and talk to them. You don't have to wait for even a minute to talk to somebody. And amazingly, they will be able to give you answer for what kind of a string for the tennis racket goes well, and what it will do for you, what kind of a game, whether it's a shoe or this or whatever the gear it is. So that kind of information helps a lot for making that kind of a decision, because especially when you're spending like $250 $300 for buying a racket. So you want to be sure that that's going to be the right one for at least a year or two, and how it's going to improve your game and everything. So why I'm throwing out this is, at the end of the day, so it's an entirely different approach. They are not looking at like Amazon, like a 360-degree of market. They are not trying to sell a grocery or anything, just a tennis gear. So, but they are able to survive and they are able to do well. So, what kind of approach your company is looking at, and what is the takeaway? And let's listen from our panelists today, and let's learn from them. Okay. So, without further ado, let's jump in and. So the first the discussion point is Sana. Please don't look at all of them or as a questions per se. It's not a question. We want to just to make a pointers here and there where we want to draw our panelist experience and their thought process on a different aspect of this discussion point. So that way we are trying our level best to give the best takeaway for our participants at the end of the day. Okay, so that's all it is. It's not a questions by any means. It's just a thought-provoking pointers. That's all. So first one would be the how do you measure touchpoint effectiveness in your omni-channel strategy, right? So we enabled channel, whether it's SMS or like an email or a voice or anything. And how do you measure the effectiveness? Is it even necessary to measure the effectiveness, or how do you go about it? So let's hear this from from our panelists. So Mr. Balaji, you want to get us started with this, from the technology side. So is there anything that you do to make us to see able to measure the effectiveness of any of these channels, or how do you go about this?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Before getting into that, I take this opportunity to thank the Bharat Connect team and my co-panelist. Thank you very much, and all the audience here. It's a wonderful session. I'm not a kind of a thorough speaker, so like I'll be stumbling somewhere. Please excuse me. Okay. Before going to the just little bit brief about my company, I represent Orange Retail Finance. We are a non-banking finance company, predominantly operating in entire South India. We do have 90 plus branches. We have 1,800 employees, and we have been recently awarded as best brand from Economic Times and best workplace awards. So on like Peacock Awards from Government of India. So we got multiple awards in the recent past, which is just keeping us highly motivated. So we started with a two-wheeler as a product, and then we slowly emerged into a business loan and emerged into a cash loan. We also started doing a loan against property. Our business model is we don't operate mostly from a tier one kind of a metro. We don't operate in Chennai, Bangalore, right, a bit kind of metros. Apart from metros, we got the entire place, we got branches and our entire customer is spread across. So we are having a 1.5 customers as of now. The growth we have seen it in the past, like pre-COVID period, no, like when the first wave, before that, we had a growth kind of in a 2 years period, our growth was pretty rapid. From 25,000 customer base, we could able to scale it up to this 1.5 customer base. We could attribute this entire growth to kind of our digital platform which we built in. It is kind of a 360 omnichannel platform which we have it. It really helps us to scale much faster. Okay. As I told, like being omni-channel, what is that kind of omni-channel or platform? It's not that we choosing the platform, the customer is available everywhere.
Yeah.
Customer has chosen the platform to be where he wants to be. For example, if any issues or any query needs to be raised, customer straight away go to the Twitter and raise it. The entire world knows you. It's not that we choosing the platform where you want to be. It's the customer is choosing the platform where you want to be. So my suggestion is we should be in the entire platform, what it is, the ecosystem need to support us, be it a physical, be it a digital, be it a social media. So wherever it is, let's be in the platform where the customer is already available there. Customer is already there. He's waiting for us. So let's start capitalizing it and then move forward there. So that's my takeaway here. And on the effectiveness and all this, like what we need to do is from an organization standpoint, let's have unified communication to the customer. A customer might approach you physically at the physical branches. He might approach you digitally. Customer might pick up a call and speak to you. Customer might chat with you through any of the platforms you're given it. Might be customer come through a chat bot and start chatting with you through a WhatsApp chat bot which you provided, or even a Facebook chat which you provided it. So customer can come through various channels, but only means each customer will come through various channels. Let it there be unified message to the customer, kind of empathy driven, kind of a common language, but each need to be personalized attention need to be given. That's what the end of the customer is required. And then since all these customers are approaching us mostly through digital or through physical, wherever it is, there's no waiting period that we cannot put them on hold, keep saying, I'll come back to you tomorrow, day after tomorrow, just wait. If informations are available online with us, present status, as of now status, our team is empowered to handle much better with the customer engagement. So it gives more of a customer engagement, customer relationship, customer experience. So I believe how fast we can able to give the right and accurate data to a front-end team who is handling it. And then if customer comes through various channel, might be automated chatbot, might be a physical chat, or even kind of whatever mode it comes it.
Yeah.
If you can able to provide all the information customer is required, I think we have taken care of the customer. So
Right.
that's my belief system is. And end of the day, this will churn out. He's going to bring us a lot more customers to us. And he's going to be a value addition for us. He's going to be doing advocacy for us. He's going to be a brand ambassador for us. That's how we need to take this approach. Because the entire world has changed right now. We are in a new norm. In this new norm, I think more and more the touch base with the customer, the kind of empathy driven, we shouldn't leave them. Like always keep on touch with them. Even if they're not touching, we can go back and tell, hi, how are you? So I think the new norm has given us a lot of turnaround where instead of customer calling us, we go back and talk to them nowadays. Hi, how are you feeling? How's everything? Whether everybody is fine at home. So we see the data. If there is no call from the customer for quite long, we go back to them and talk to them. Because end of the day, like this helps us in kind of a cross-selling, upselling when the COVID or all this new norms got removed, so it really helps us. So like we need to change our approach based on the situation, based on the demands. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like to listen to other panelists.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, Balaji. So Balaji has put it in a nice way that, like, making the customer information available as a technologist, right? So how do we enable our the agents to be able to more effective is to make the information available and being more proactive, and sometimes even proactively approaching customers ourselves rather than waiting for the customers to call, or if they are not calling, why they're not calling. So where it triggers, if a customer called us for every few months, and if he has not called us, what does that mean? So there has to be some trigger somewhere, so to tell us why he has not called. That's where the analytics come in, right? So Vidhya, you want to throw in your quick thought on this one before we jump on to the next?
Sure. Thanks for that, Balaji. I totally agree with what you were saying, because nowadays the demands are completely different. Earlier, it used to be, I believe my dad was in a bank, and he had served almost 32 years, right from the front end till the audit place. The way that people approach the banks earlier used to be like, I will walk to my bank branch, I will talk to people there, and I can chat for a while, sit for a coffee. If I know the branch manager, probably I sit for a chai, and get my things done. While you're there, you're building your relationship. Nowadays, it's completely changed. I don't need a branch. I don't need to see a physical building. I don't need to. And in the last 1.5, 2 years, that we have learned that we don't need to be present anywhere. We just have to be omnipresent in all the channels that I am, having access to, in the language that I want to speak in. So the chatbots come into picture, where if you want to choose a language which you're comfortable in, then go ahead, put a chatbot for that, and the basic communication happens with them. So I don't need to have multilingual people employed in my organization. Also, I can rely on a chatbot which can do the initial conversation, solve 80% of the queries. Only at the end of the 20%, I may probably have to pick it up. So this is where AI comes into picture, machine learning comes into picture, where I can analyze the requirement of the client, and even serve, like Balaji said, if somebody is not calling me or my customers are not reaching out to me, there might be some reason I have to go and check out. In fact, we can do this even over a non-interaction also, right? So I can see what exactly the client is doing by way of the just because he's not calling, it doesn't mean that he's not banking with me or he's not transacting using my credit card. I can still see that there are some transactions in this card, and I see that there is a transaction outside of India. Okay, I realize that the reason why there's no call from this client is probably because I see that he is traveling abroad. So these kind of assumptions, or rather these kinds of insights, come from your data itself. So you don't need to necessarily approach the client or disturb him at the time of when he's traveling abroad or something. So this is just one of the examples, right? And the demands are completely different. We were talking about brick and mortar and non-essential. I can live with my mobile phone, and I can still bank. I can talk to people. I can communicate what I want to. So when and there are more and more people who are handling. I mean, there are hardly anybody that you see without a smartphone. Barring an exception, my dad, he doesn't want want to move to smartphone at all. He still continues to use. So barring a few exceptions like him, a lot of people have switched over to smartphones. Even if I have to give a feedback to my to the product that I bought in, I can choose to do that in their site. I can use Twitter. I can go to Facebook, and I can tell my group, or I can even record a video feedback and send it back to the organization. So there are so many methods that I can communicate back. So I don't necessarily feel the need of coming in touch with somebody, physical touching somebody. So I need my service done, and I almost need it the moment I think about it. So we have to be omnipresent. So the channels definitely help, and you can address all the types of queries and requirements of across the clientele. You don't necessarily have to have one set of approaches. You can have multi approaches because you're omnipresent now.
Yeah, well said. So
I have a bit of an.
Go ahead.
I would like to bring another angle here.
Yeah.
As Balaji rightly said, there are times when the customers do not approach us, and linking it to what Vidhya says, that it is possible we can analyze through data what he's doing. While this may not be applicable to many products, yes, it does apply for banking. Going even with banking again, to continue the conversation. For a bank, when a customer doesn't transact, yes, that's a trigger. And I would say when a customer calls, and you can take feedback from through non-interactive channels, so the customer is not inconvenienced when we try to approach him to understand what's happening. Thereafter, I would wait for a situation, or I would look at voice recordings of complaints.
Mhm.
I would rather go into the complaints, voice recordings, so I get the tone of the customer and I get to understand what it is I'm not delivering, which he's complaining about, and what else is it that I'm not able to deliver? Is it not part of my product strategy? Or better still, why is he still with me and why is he calling up to complain? What is it that I'm really good at that he's still with me? That's the way I would look at.
Yeah, yeah,
For me, whatever data is already there, it's a good idea to analyze that so I know exactly what's going on in his mind.
yeah.
So for going a little deeper into your question, when you say that would we like to take in-house reviews, when a customer walks into a store or maybe a bank, when a customer writes a review, he is doing it rather to please the person on the other side of the counter. And if it's a bank, he would rather not speak out what he wishes to because confidentiality. He would rather put it, online, specifics to the point and stay away. I would not like to say exactly what has disturbed me because I am not leaving your bank at any point in time because of factors such as cost, such as service reasons. I would look at, is my interest rate way too high over here for my loan? Or are these guys not having products which service me, no, for the product or for the interest or for the charges that this bank is charging me, rather than look at the service they are rendering. So an in-house review would never really give me a real picture.
Mhm.
Going by the next one more, social media posts placed by consumers. Social media posts generally is a show of business. The youngsters do it very freely. The middle aged are quite calculated. Everybody knows the risks in giving out my personal information. So I'm rather busy telling everybody what I have done already, where I'm good at, and I would not really give a real honest review. Online reviews, especially on social media posts, are generally not something to go by unless it's a completely FMCG, product which is rolling by and one can really pick up what is in trending and what people are generally liking today.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Rukmani. So, yeah, it's a good explanation, to start our conversation with. So, yeah. So let's jump on to the next one. Discussion point. The next one is, how do you track and measure your customer journey across all the channels? After all, you have to be consistent across your website, mobile, social, all the print and everything. What are the various metrics that you use to figure out how effective you are across the channels, and how do you address them, or minimize them? So Rukmani ma'am, you want to go first on this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would say the key to have continuous touchpoint strategy, omni-channel working, would be non-intervention of the human channel. The minute you bring in human interface, omni-channel stops functioning. Across channels, I wish to purchase something on Amazon, I would look at reviews on my laptop, maybe some amount of reviews for a normal purchase, a small priced product, smaller priced product. I'm okay with browsing on my mobile, but something a little more expensive like my television at home or the laptop configuration, I would rather check it out on my laptop, isn't it? So Now, the amount we can minimize human touch point, that is how much it is effective. Somewhere in between, like if you go to buy a sports product as you started with, I want more details on the product. I would have to go into another website, or I would have to go for a call with the company, itself directly, or walk into the showroom, understand the product, and then for price comparison, I may come back to the Amazon website. So an omni-channel experience, seamless omni-channel experience would not be as meaningful when it comes to something like this, because the seamlessness would depend entirely on the consumer, his requirement, and his queries, which probably would not be answered this way.
Yeah.
Coming to another angle to this is how well is the back office functioning. As an operations person, that is the way I would look. Uh, the screen is fine. I move from my laptop to my mobile to my tab to any other channel, and this should be functioning. I have booked my order. I can see that my order is placed. I have made my, made payment. So I know that this is seamless across these channels. How about the back end? What is happening? My store, the amount of goods that I have in my store, how much of that has moved from the store to the delivery status? How much of that has moved from delivery status to the delivery executive or to the courier company, which is going to transport it from one city or one place to another? Is that also automated? Is that also omni-channel? Because today in a COVID situation, I am fine working till I'm awake. I am fine starting work when I wake up. So then I would also like that my work is omni-channel. My staff would also, work on a mobile. My mail, I'm so busy that I've woken up, I'm having my morning coffee. I'm fine. Has my boss sent a mail? What about that, which is very urgent? I check on my mobile, I'm comfortable, what's happening. I would open my laptop only when it's required, isn't it? So for similarly, for an omni-channel, for the back office work that's happening too. So how far is that effective would decide the effectiveness of the omni-channel on screen to the consumer also. So that digitization speaks a long way on the effectiveness of an absolute omni-channel working functionality.
Yeah.
Now coming to another angle, how well will customer service be effective? While we get feedback from the clients, while we get their opinions, either through complaints or through our calls or through various channels of communication, what are we doing with all the feedback we've taken? Uttaman, you know very well, so many times we take feedback, how much of it are not repeats? So many times there are repeats of a negative complaint. Why does that happen? Here we come to the next. We have not done a root cause analysis. The 5 whys. You ask 5 why questions to the person who's posing your problem. You come to the root cause. Many a time we find instead of 5 whys, we stop at 2 or 3 whys.
Yeah.
We never, and we call that the root cause. When we do not understand the root cause, how do we fix process? When we fix process, that is when the thing is absolutely addressed across levels, and that's when the organization is ready for a kickstart to a manifold growth. Process is king, process is queen. To
Okay.
have a robust process, yeah, queen moves anyway, right? So, which
Yeah.
is why I use the word queen.
Yeah.
So, not with any other perspective. The thing is, queen and the board moves any direction.
Yeah.
In which
Absolutely.
case, process, if process is fine, process is robust, then the organization is ready for manifold, the quantum growth. That is what we've seen in all our personal growth journeys also. When
Yeah.
our root is fine, when our base is going right, we are ready for that kickstart. Or else the quantum jump doesn't happen. We have to make do with those small moves, those small percentage growth,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Very, very well said, ma'am. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, like a
You
very
call me
good takeaway
Rukmini,
points.
please.
Yeah, very many good takeaway points there. So we'll make sure like we capture all of them and publish it in some kind of article or blog. So definitely, thanks. Yeah. So we are like almost half past the time. So let's quickly go over the next question. Number 3. This one is for like I would like to ask Ms. Vidhya for her opinion. Coming from the AI world, right? Often we invest in multiple channels because our competition is doing so, right? Sometimes it is a necessary, sometimes it forced on us, right? So we can't avoid that situation. So being available on all the new channels is the easiest step because just is getting it started. So like Balaji mentioned and like Rukmini ma'am just explained, we can just add in a new channel. That's not a issue. Wherever the customer is, you go ahead and then add that, right? So what is the challenges and the nightmare that brings throwing out all these different channels, and how do you put everything together to make some sense out of it? And so why don't you help us understand this one from your AI background, Miss Vidya?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I have to be present everywhere, right? I have to be present where my customers are going to be. There is no choice. Sometimes, like you rightly mentioned, that is going to be by choice, and sometimes it is not by choice. You are forced into certain things. But the only way that you can keep, no need to mention, it is going to be a nightmare because you are going to be present everywhere. There is going to be different kinds of feedback that you're going to get, different kinds of products that you're going to serve everywhere. But how do you still be present everywhere and also measure your effectiveness there? So
Yeah.
each channel will have its own way of identifying how you can measure it, right? um, I so this is a fact. So key performance indicators, right? These are the basics to understand how you are performing. So there are over 1,000 KPIs, which some of them are very popular, some of them are very intricate, and they are, so given a choice, a lot of KPIs can be there, and you can use in different industries, you use different kind of KPIs, and it is for different needs. But the common myth is that the more KPI that I put, the better tracking I can do, and I can be more effective. That is actually a myth, because it need not, the number of KPIs don't directly correlate with your effectiveness.
Yeah.
The quality of the KPI or the smartness of the KPI. Why do I say smart? Because it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. We know this smart, right? So these are the things that you have to be more careful about when you fix your KPI. So you can even track 5 of the KPIs and still be effective in determining what your client wants, whether you are able to serve them properly. So bottom line is that the measuring your multi-channel or the omni-channel marketing strategy, it also means that you're tracking the return on investment, because nobody does, the entire demand and supply is going through because you are earning a profit. What is your return on investment? The investment that you have done on all these channels, how is each of your campaign and channel going to benefit? How are the returns going to come back to you? So you pick the KPIs based on what is relevant in that channel, right? Next thing is that you collating these KPIs. It's just one thing that you are getting this data. So most of the organizations, what they do is they collect this data, they do their calculations, but what next? What do you actually put that into use? Like Rukmini rightly mentioned, there is a root cause analysis which is required at some point in time. There are actionable insights which has to come out of this. This is where the analytics play a part, right? Yeah. You have the data collected, and how smartly and effectively you're converting this into powerful insights which are more actionable, action oriented. So if I have say for example, there is a click rate which is counted for Twitters, right? So if I'm posting something there, How many people are clicking on it, right? If it is a Facebook post, how many people are liking it and sharing it? So these are the basic idea. These are the data which are getting collated from these channels. But how are you going to, what does it make difference if 10 people touch it or 500 people touch it? So if you want the 10 to become 500, what needs to be done? So these are the actionable insights which should come out of the data that you're collecting. So you have the data on hand. It can help you formulate your next campaign strategy. Maybe you threw out something in the market and you're expecting the millennials to pick that up. But you identify that the people who are in the age bracket of 30 to 40 are actually coming to consume that product. But your target was 18 to 25. What is the difference? Why it happened? So you get that understanding only when you get this data and find out that what you need to find out. So when you have the data with you and you have a set threshold, so I have a threshold of 1,000 clicks per post, but I am not reaching 1,000. I'm probably reaching only say 700. What can I do to make this go up in the curve? So these are the actionable insights that you need from the data, and that is what analytics provides. So your KPIs, to sum this up, so your KPI needs to be limited because they are going to be smart. It will serve all your purpose. And how you're going to use that KPI to convert that into more actionable items that you have to do what next. So that is where the data comes into picture.
Yeah, very, very well said, Vidya. So actually with that answer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump one discussion point now and then come back to it next. Okay. So since we are talking about all the effectiveness of the metrics and everything, so I would like to ask Balaji for his input on there are so many different ways of looking at it. The CSAT, NPS score, customer effort scoring, customer churn rate, customer health score, abandonment rate, and acquisition cost, key 7 metrics, right? So they're talking about. So I'm sure it's going to be challenging to look at all of them. You must be measuring some of these, and in orange detail, for example. So can you take us through how do you do this one, and how are you overcoming these challenges, Balaji?
Yeah. So if you Google all these 7 scores, okay, so everybody keeps listing for measuring with the customers the 7 score parameter. I've been in different domains. Presently, I'm in a banking finance. Prior to that, I was in a retailing, manufacturing, a BPO. So each domain has a different kind of a rating mechanism. If you go to a kind of a retailing, okay, where the abundant cart plays a very, very key role in kind of e-commerce. Certainly, we can able to analyze it, why people are abandoning the cart. By analyzing that abandoning cart itself, we can keep improving on the e-commerce platform. Okay, I believe the score keeps changing, or it's becoming relevant more and more from a domain perspective. So what we need to do is we need to understand we belong to which domain and what kind of a customer we are engaging with this. Okay, based on the customer, once again you think to it. But instead of getting into all these scores, get the basics right. My point is score is like finally, once you have a platform, basic is right. Can we able to touch base with customer? Every customer we can able to give a very, very clear articulated communication that customers are extremely happy after talking to us. Because in certain domains, for example, in a domain where I belong to, or even for a retail domain, once the sale is happened, all the call comes service call. That means they are not happy with the service. Every single call comes. Nobody, have you ever spoken, whomsoever attending here, have you ever spoken to somebody volunteering told, hey, your service is very good, excellent, I'm happy with your service? Nobody. Okay, it's very rare, a rare quality. It's becoming a very, very rare quality. Anybody is picking up a phone and telling, hi, your service is extremely good. We pick up a phone if there's any service deficiencies there. Okay, so we need to keep training the team. The calls you are getting is all a kind of a customer where we can't able to service it to at par the level as an organization we can. So first they should be empathically listening to the call, then understand the query and try to address it. Okay, if the customers are happy with the call, that ends the score. That score is enough. Customer satisfaction score, that's fine. If he's coming back with a new business with us, then we achieved it. Okay, I think it should be extremely simple rather than putting complicated 5-point scale, 7-point metrics, go give a questionnaire feedback form to the customer, confusing everything. It is completely chaos, to be honest. Okay, if you can understand that, because all this as a consultant keeps coming, give a score, understand rating. Previously, we call this. End of the day, our top line has improved because of customer. Our bottom line has improved because of the customer. The customer is doing a repeated purchase, can able to upsell, can able to cross sell, is happy, and the customer interaction like multiple times, whether he's calling or he's stopped calling. Okay, all this will help us kind of a parameter. My thing is, let's not confuse all the 7-point scale like net promoter score, net customer satisfaction score. If you can able to give a unified communication to the customer, and if you empathically listen, and if he's appreciating it, I think we achieved our goal.
Okay.
And whomsoever they are attending it here also, please make sure whenever anybody did a good service, you already talk to them and tell them you're happy with your service.
Yeah.
Let's bring that culture.
Superstars, the AI expert.
Balaji.
He is working on a corporate level of information, so she has a take there.
Yeah.
So Balaji, I'm totally with you. Okay, you don't have to box something into those 7, 5 or 7 or 10, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you, but I have a little different take in it. It is confusing because what happens is when you say in banks, we primarily go with NPS and CSAT. So when you're talking about CSAT, you're probably asking the client, whether you're satisfied or dissatisfied or extremely dissatisfied, or basically it is the satisfaction level that you're talking about. So I can give you an example. Okay, very simple way of looking at it. So if I give my daughter one ice cream, she might not be satisfied. Okay, she might want at least one more. Okay, one more scoop of it. Or if I give the same ice cream or one scoop to my mom, what she probably looks at it, okay, is it tasting nice? Is it satisfying me on the taste level? So for my daughter, it's the quantity which matters. For my mother, it is the quality which matters. So the satisfaction is the same word which can be used for both these, but there is a different meaning to it. So how are you planning to ask the clients his satisfaction or her dissatisfaction? That is something which has to be given in a proper way. So if, like Balaji mentioned, if your bottom line is set, if your customer is not coming back, so those are the criteria. So it totally depends on which business I'm talking about. And how am I going to put them together? Whether it is going to be qualitative or quantitative, again, it has to be a combination of both. It can't be one or the other. It has to be a combination of both. And by the way, when I am satisfied with something, I do make a mention of whether I am satisfied or not. So Balaji, I am already there. I encourage other guys, other people also to follow this, because I've been as I started my career as a customer service executive. So I know the pain when people just call you and shout at you and put it back. So although you're trained not to take it personally, it affects you. There are very few people that call you and to tell you that your product is really good. So what the Zomato and Swiggy has started doing is, tell me anything that every time you are coming to me, tell me how you feel about it. So tell me whether you're satisfied or dissatisfied or what I can be better at. So there is also a free text which is given, say, if you're satisfied, tell me why. If you're not satisfied, tell me that also, so that I can improve. So when I'm talking about these free texts which are coming to us, that is where the machine learning and AI will actually take the natural language processing to make your text also some kind of actionable insights again. So I'm going back to my point that your actionable insights should come from your data, which is highly possible now. So all you need to do is, you don't have to go with, there was one podcast which I heard where they talked about Satyameva Jayate. They talked about Satyameva Jayate when this is a program which was started a few years back, and they took it for they talked about societal problems. They started with fetal the killing of fetus when it is in the mummy's tummy, right? So they started with that thing. And when they talked about the feedback that they got, because the Satyamev Jayate was broadcasted in all the languages across India, and it was the feedback which was coming in were in different languages. They were not able to put all the feedback together and get what is the culmination of the whole thing. So if at all AI was a part of that at that point in time, they could have done this in minutes, rather than putting multiple people into the understanding, whether it is in Bhojpuri or the Kannada or Telugu or some remote language, even be spoken in very remote village. It could have been easily possible. It is easily possible now. So the ultimate bottom line is that feedback is what is feeding you actually back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Feedback itself as a term, it is feedback.
It's feeding back.
Feedback to the
Exactly.
system. That's what the system. So
Yeah.
I'm actually advocacy of all this like machine language or AI kind of capabilities. We invest a lot. We do a lot of things and all. And I'm not here to say don't monitor all the scores. Whatever the 10 scores which we do have, like net promoter score, keep doing it. But what I'm trying to say is get the basic fundamental right. That's what. Let the basic be right. If we are a kind of a customer, if we are having some kind of a service challenges, how we feel. So that's what. Once you get the basic right, then keep monitoring the progress. That's what. So that's where I'm coming about. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Balaji. Yeah. So now going back quickly on the previous discussion point, which I skipped. So like a touch point effectiveness, like to Rukmini ma'am, does it make sense to measure them instead of measuring the effectiveness of an end-to-end customer journey? What do you think about this suggestion? Just like just now Balaji is mentioning, like, keep it simple. Like at the end of the day, how do you see this? So whereas Vidhya is like pushing where using the AI, quantity versus a quality, and what is satisfaction
There's too
means.
much data. She has no option. When she's sitting on global data for her organization, she has to use the right metrics which work for it, right? And as you now mentioned, yes, keeping it simple. End-to-end customer journey is what finally matters.
Yeah.
I come from a banking industry, so let me give you a banking example. I try to apply for a loan. I start applying on the mobile, and there I put in my KYC data, my information. I start filling up the form, and when my uploading of basic documents is complete, and I have to feed in further details about what nature of work or how many years of work, who are my family members, and further details on. And I find some lot of text to be entered. I would rather sit on my laptop, do it peacefully within half an hour, and complete my application. When I complete my application, I may be required whenever it is scanning or uploading. It's the mobile. When it is longer textual thing, it's rather more easy on the tablet or on the laptop. Post all this comes the uploading of the documents, the property documents which would probably mortgage with your bank, that would run from anything between 100 pages to 1,000 pages sometimes. If a lot of properties are put together to form an association complex, you would have even 1,000 pages of a document. So how would you probably upload that online? You can't do that. So what would the customer do? He would probably walk into the branch and ask for upload of these documents. So here the human interface comes in, and your touch point effectiveness is no longer functional. The bank takes the documents and it says on verification that it is original, it says, I acknowledge that I have taken the originals and I shall return to you within a tat of maybe 1 day, 2 days, even 3 days. I would return it to you, intact, and I will take, 5 hours or 7 hours to ensure that I have uploaded these documents into your customer ID. Here, omnichannel seamlessly does not function. What has happened? You have facilitated the customer to do his online loan application. You've done a great job there. So essentially, end-to-end consumer convenience, consumer requirement being addressed is what finally matters.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, like, just circling back to the initial example of Amazon. Amazon's success in many ways and forms come because of how easy it is. All they try to do is remove the friction, so make it a little bit more easier, a little bit more easier. So it's really like an amazing success story what Amazon has pulled us through. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, ma'am. So final, like, the point, the discussion point, like, goes to Vidya. Customer experience is an oversized budget item, right? So it's nothing new. It is always the case. So, and there is often a discussion on how we are going to reduce or manage this budget in a better way. Meaning how we can cut down on any of this right cost and everything. So, but the customer experience is closely tied with the business outcome, right? After all, you are trying to see the satisfaction and how we are servicing your customer, because better they are, better your they're going to come back, and better your revenue and everything is going to go up. But then on the contrary side, you have an obligation to manage the budget, meaning look at the ways how we can manage it in a better way, the fund and everything. So um so what should the customer experience leaders present to finance to get a go ahead on an omni-channel strategy, and what metrics would help demonstrate that I need $1 million budget, right? If Balaji says, for example, as a CIO, I need $1 million budget to deliver the channel that you are asking for, right? The reports. The next question immediately going to be, Balaji, is why? Why you need $1 million? Can't you do it in 750 or 500, right? That's obvious, because it is, after all, it is not generating a revenue. It is easy to say that, but then you are doing everything. If you do that one right, you are obviously going to do with your revenue. So everyone knows that, but still they want to work with the constraint. So what metrics that Balaji or anyone can put us upfront to the management that is going to convince them, hey, this is exactly $1 million project, no questions. So what can we do that? How can we explain that, Vidya?
Okay, so this goes back to my principle. So I'm a data evangelist.
Yeah.
I propagate data for everything. So data is the key here, okay, here and everywhere. So you always start with data, which will be converted to your key metrics, your what you have to show, which in turn can win your case for the fund allocation, for your CX, your customer experience. So there are two approaches that can be taken. Rather than, I would say, both these approaches should be taken. It has to go hand in hand. The first set of metrics should be inward looking, and the second set of metrics should be outward looking. So these are the two methods how you look at it. So what do you mean by inward looking metrics? So for example, new customer acquisition, total number of touch points, your turnaround, your TAT, and your CSAT. This can give you a fair picture of how effective is your bank's process, your organization's process in the entire onboarding process. So we took an example of new customer acquisition. So how much time does your bank take to actually onboard a client? So this in combination with the outward looking metrics, which is more like a thorough competitive analysis. Who's your competitor? How soon are they doing it? And how easy it is? How many touch points do they have? What's your competition's analogy? What is their approach? How you can entice your new customers in comparison with the other competitors in the market. So this is outward looking metrics. Yeah. So if your budget is going to give you a clear boost in these metrics that you're talking about, like number of touch points, your turnaround time, your CSAT rating, all these things. And you also will have a very enticing onboarding experience. Say, for example, earlier it used to take 10 days to open an account. Now, nationalized banks also are able to open it within hours or within minutes. It's, you scan your Aadhaar card, you scan your driving license, you give everything that I need upfront, and then, everything is verified. Your checkbook and your debit cards are issued at the end of the process. Only minutes. If that is going to be the competition, obviously you will have to boost. If you don't do that, you'll basically not have the wallet share that you are expecting in the market, right? So your clients, this is just the onboarding process that I took an example. So similarly, if your compliance handling is going to consume a lot of times, every time when the client calls, you are not engaging any chatbot, you're directly asking them to dial into their number, and your IVR process is taking them to multiple touch points again, and whoever is actually talking to the client is not able to close out the issues. Or it's a basic thing that, it used to be like, even for knowing the bank balance, we used to call the customer service. Remember that time? So now you don't have to do that. Now everything has changed. So I open the app in my mobile phone, and I can find out what's the balance. I can find out what's the interest rate today. I can book my deposits. I can book my mutual funds. Everything is handy, literally handy. Right? So this is the shift that we are talking about. When digitization go, and when I'm channeling my efforts into making lives easier, making more automations possible, making intellectual decisions at the touch point, any touch point for that matter, reducing the turnaround time. These are the metrics that I have to show: where I am, where I want to be, and why I want to be there, and what is the benefit, ROI, I'm going to get because of this. Those are the metrics that you have to show to your finance or whoever is going to approve your budget. So this is my take on it.
Yeah. So bottom line is, Balaji, we need some kind of a strong business leader on the other side, like Vidhya, to support our budget.
My just it's a very nice point she told. Just one thing for everybody to just to mull over or to just think through. And in every discussion, we are talking a terminology called customer experience. Every discussion, everybody is saying customer experience.
Yeah.
What is a customer experience? Okay, customer experience is the one where customer cannot even able to explain it. That is called customer experience. For example, if I'm wearing a Nike shoe, I cannot be able to explain what I feel. It's a feel which I go through it. If I'm driving a Merc, I can't able to explain. Yeah. For example, if I'm drinking a Coke, I like it very much. I can't able to explain. It's a feeling, it's the experience I'm going through. So ensure the customer experience is feeling every single customer is going through it. Okay, just think through it. And one more thing, customer experience is not only the customer can depart. It's the functionality of entire brand, end to end, everybody who is supporting the brand, every single employee. There only the customer experience keep coming. Just think through this point. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
There are no words, or like, how it's simply to explain, like, why you want something, and like, what's the reason for it, right? Because that's a hard part for any brand companies, like, to come across the customers, to make them to feel that way, right? So like, so for Merck, like, I have recently seen one advertisement in WhatsApp. I don't know how many of you have seen it. They show a beautiful girl walking up to a counter and then asking them some question, like, can I order French fries and this and that, all that. And then that lady says, this is a library. And then this beautiful young lady says, oh, sorry. And then she asks the same question, can I get a French fries and a burger? Like a little bit a lower voice, because it's a library. So, and what the ultimate slogan for that advertisement is, Merck says, hey, sometimes if you pay lower, you get only the beauty. Sometimes if you pay lower, you get only the performance. Pay what it takes to buy a Merck, because you get beauty on performance. So like, like it's so powerful, and it's able to explain that concept what they're trying to say. Like, so it's not how that car looks or how it drives. It's a whole experience. So it's a nice advertisement. So yeah. So I think we have come to covered all the
Very
discussion
gender
points now.
biased, your example.
Yeah. Sorry.
Very gender biased, your
No,
example.
sorry. No. I don't mean in, no, I don't mean
I
in
know
that
you
way.
didn't mean it. I know
But
you didn't mean it.
but the thing is,
That's a message they are trying to
I'm
give.
explaining it in a way that beauty, is one way or other, depicted, and explained in more, as
Yeah,
a
understandable.
yeah, but so they could have
If
done it with
it
a.
was a it was a Merc, they put a lady up to it. If it was a Scorpio or something, maybe there will be a macho man who will be doing that. So it's just that,
Yeah,
I don't see the bias there.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
think about it. They could have done it with like a Rajinikanth kind of a character also in that, right?
Absolutely.
That's an entirely different one, right?
Yeah.
But it was like a very simple, but then they are able to convey it very
Message.
clearly, beautiful, and performance, right? How powerful the message, what more as a brand you want to convey, right? So that's exactly what you're saying. So yeah, so definitely not anything on the gender side.
It's just
No, I knew
just
it.
to
It is
make it a little light.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is definitely it's on the borderline. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's quickly go over the questions, participants, Vignesh, do we have any questions?
Yes, Utaman. Some of participants asking some questions.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Anyone is there?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Deepika.
Yes.
Hi. So my question is, most often than not, I do not feel like giving feedback because I do not know whether my feedback is being acted upon, except perhaps the customary thank you, for your feedback message. I do not get any subsequent communication from brands. So how do you address them?
Can I take this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See, a customer feedback essentially goes into the data bank. Your feedback is not something that, unless it is something that your the product owner would like to act upon, is needed to act upon, your feedback essentially goes as part of the data collection process, so that the next time, if you're happy with it, everybody else gets a happy experience just the same way as you have. And in case it is something that the company has to work upon, then indeed they should call back and they should work on that. So if you've given a good feedback, if you've given an above average feedback, I don't think we can expect a response for that. The purpose of this is essentially to collect data about your experience. That's all. Did I answer you?
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I see there is a question from Subramania Raja Iyer. So they want to ask this question to Vidya. How do you measure the effectiveness after deploying a bot or a conversational AI in place? And they have one more question. The training data might not contain exhaustive list to answer to a customer query. How do you deal with this scenario as it directly related to customer experience? So the
Okay,
first
so
question is, how do you measure effectiveness after deploying a bot or a conversational AI in place?
So how we start using the chatbot is that it's logically sequenced, right? So you expect the chatbot to answer the basic questions, and then when the answers are not satisfactory or not covering their questions, then we always give the option to go to a live agent, correct? So how often do you see that the customer is clicking on the option to go to a live agent, right? That's one measure that you can easily identify. And also as a follow-up, what was the query that live agent addressed, which was not part of your already existing set of question and answers. Chatbot is nothing but you train the model by giving some basic questions and answers that you know, a list, let's call it a dictionary, okay? So you're giving a dictionary for the chatbot to read through and give an answer. So all the likely questions and the likely answers are fed into the system, the model, and the model is expected to answer at the right time. So if you say hello, it should say hello, hi, whatever it is. If you say good morning, it should also follow suit. So basically, these are the likely answers, right? If I say good morning, will you say go take a walk? No. So you will also say good morning. So all these likely questions and likely answers are getting answered. Again, I've seen the chatbots are doing multiple options also. Do you want to talk about, I see that your profile, the moment I step into your chatbot, the chatbot looks at my profile and say, I see that you have, you have credit card, you have a banking account, you also have a loan account. Which one do you want to start talking about? So these are the basic questions which lead you to somewhere. So when it leads back to the live agent, finally that should be your measure, whether all these existing questions were able to answer or not. So that's the effectiveness part. The second question was, how do you make it better, or how do you keep the training set is not enough? That is only when it starts, right? As and when you see the live agent coming and picking more questions, that will again feed back to your model, and then it keeps improving itself to answer more and more questions. That's how the models should work. There should be a feedback loop which goes back into the model, which will train again with the new set of questions and answers, which the agent was able to answer, which could have been an answer with the IVR, or which could have been answered by the chatbot itself. So when the feedback loop is robust and the machine is learning itself, that is when the model will be successful. Hope that answers.
Yeah. So Vidhya, when you do the loop back here, right, the feedback back to the AI, if it is a live agent is on that same chat channel, that's easy to feedback into a model. What if the agent is on a voice? So like, do you translate those voice into text and then feed into the system, or how do you handle that?
So it is totally dependent whether you want to do this manually, or you can also make this automated. Like you rightly mentioned, if I am seeing that there is a, if it is a text, I can read the text and feed it back. If it is not a text, if it is a voice, then I can listen to it. Again, the neural networks and deep learning will help you to feed it. Okay. But, to some extent there will be a manual intervention required, but most of the times it is possible by listening or by reading the text itself. Okay.
Thanks. Okay. We have actually I have two questions raised hand here. So Sathik, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Uttam. So my question is like we are talking about getting the feedback from the customer. So one thing which really don't understand is how to ask for the feedback. When I ask for the feedback, there is two things comes in my mind. The first one is middle of the project. We are not very sure that whether the customer will give the very honest feedback, or maybe it can be just to make sure that things motivate. They will give different feedback, and after the end of the project, we are not sure whether we are going to feedback. So we really don't know what time and when we can ask the questions. I mean feedbacks.
I can take this one since you mentioned project. So in project management, there are two ways to approach it. The earlier or the older method is to take the project, build the product, and then go back to the client to show it you will show it, and then it probably takes 5 to 6 months for you to build the product, and then you go back to at the final stage you go back to the client for his feedback, his or her feedback. Now the method that most of the projects and programs are followed is the complete agile methodology. Agile methodology is nothing but it's a way of working. What you do is you form a part, you make the client part of your discussion. Every second week you deliver incrementally and not wait for 6 months and show what you have got. So you start with the project, you form working groups, you form the scrums, and you have a scrum master, you have a product owner, you have a project owner, you have the developers. Everybody come together every morning for 15 minutes to talk about what you have planned and whether you are on track. If there are any impediments, you put that also into picture so that anybody who can solve it will be able to solve it. So none of the organizations, or at least to my knowledge, if the organizations are still following the first method that I called it's called the waterfall method. Whoever is following that end up changing the products, or completely throwing away the effort and starting over again. If you are going agile, this is the best thing that could have happened to the entire project management now. If you're I'm sure you would have come across this terminology, but if you are not, I strongly recommend that you go check out the short videos which are there in the YouTube, which will completely give you an understanding how the agile methodology works. It's simple. You have to take the bigger project, cut it into small pieces. Every second week you go back and share what you have done, and you can bring the client or the stakeholder along with your journey. At every junction you are checking and reiterating what you have learned and putting it back into practice, and this feedback loop continues. So there is no separate way of going back and taking feedback. But in the context of omni-channel and the rest of the places, that's probably that's probably totally a different angle that you have to take. And the same feedback loop is also available, is also that we follow for our leadership also. So you don't have to wait for the end of the year to give your assessment to tell that you are good or bad, and not even give a chance for improvement. You do it as and when they do a good job or a bad job, or wherever there is a scope for improvement. So this agile methodology is almost being followed by everybody at every place. That makes a lot of difference.
I won't take more time. It's one quick thing. So when I say during this Scrum, right? So I see it as the project or functional or implementation feedback. So this is how I see. And the things which I'm keeping in mind and what I'm asking is like something like a CSAT, something like a survey, right? It's not only with the project team. It can be also from the management team, because the project team works with you, but the management may hear something from the project team, or they may see some business output from that. So I'm talking about that management level, not at the project team level.
Okay, if the management is your stakeholder, you have to keep incrementally telling them what you are doing. And every second week, if you're going back and telling that this is where I am, tell me if this is good. So if the entire workflow is going to be following the agile methodology, there is no leaving out anybody and suddenly somebody cannot pop up and start asking you questions. No, if you're taking them along with your along with your journey, then there is no point of separate feedback, is what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
thanks, Vidhya.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Vidhya, it's very interesting. We use this agile on IT side, on IT development, like splitting projects into smaller work units, and then we assign it to different developers, and we manage it that way. So you are explaining that we are applying this methodology on a customer experience and all the different departments as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
That every project can get into agile, not the only everything, everything can get into agile.
Even not only the projects, what we have realized or what we are practicing on a daily basis is that every incident that you are having, every morning, if you just stand up for 15 minutes, talk about how you're going to approach the day. That
Yeah.
itself is going to, boost the rest of the day. You will have clear vision. And this is applicable not only on the project, it is applicable to the business as usual work also, the BAU work also. So I've seen this getting implemented everywhere, wherever. See, everybody ultimately, they want to achieve something. When you have a target, all we are saying is that you break it into pieces and try to put everybody into the loop so that it is a clear-cut free flow format.
Yeah.
See, sometimes so happens that if you want to probably respond to a customer's feedback or a customer's complaint, which has come to you on email, if I don't, have a clear-cut understanding that whether I can solve this problem myself or I have to be dependent on somebody else, if all of us are working together to do this, then there is no wait time. That is what we are trying to cut here.
Absolutely.
So even in BAU, if you want to do this, it is totally usable. And you don't have to put all the ingredients into it, but the approach should be easy to, easy to apply anywhere that you want to, when you have a target to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
In short, it's a culture actually. Agile is a culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one more question. I think Nivedita has some question. Nivedita, go ahead.
Yeah, hi team, Nivedita here. So my question is like, what should I keep in mind when I'm looking at whether to add new channel to my customer service? Like, are there any guidelines should I follow while adding it, or like anything should I keep in mind while doing this?
So the channel which you're talking is from a sales side or from a support side?
Support side, customer service.
Support's fine. See, customers are already available there. Okay, so like how well you can able to structure it, because then once you need to think through every support channel you are opening. Okay, there is both pros and cons are there. For example, if you don't have a support channel through social media is a double-edged sword. You should be extremely careful. Okay, so whichever channel you are having, consider can you able to give a uniform level of customer experience. That is first point you need to remember. And then for every single channel, there should be kind of a customized communication need to be given, because the customer who is approaching physically could be different. The customer who is approaching digital could be different. So you should be having a kind of a personalized content, but the experience should be uniform experience. But whichever channel you want, my suggestion is customers are already available. You can go ahead with it. So no need to think about it. If you're not doing, certainly your competitor will be doing it. Certainly your competitors are already there in the platform. And one point you need to remember is, don't wait for all signal to turn green. Okay, you can go till where the green is at, then next green, then next green. So you can keep taking the journey. And the best part is already everyone has tried and tested. Everything is there. We are not a guinea pig right now to go and test it. So there are already enough use cases are available, already enough customers are available, enough companies have done it. So I think we are not testing anything newly. Already everything is existing. We are only going and experiencing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very well said, Balaji. Yeah, thanks, Nivedita. And so, anyone else, participants, any questions? Anyone? I'm watching the chat also here.
Actually, Sabha raised one question, but he's not here.
Okay.
I will ask that question.
Okay.
Should I be present in all the channels? Given that 70% of customers prefer reaching me through website, and 30% are distributed across email, phone, or social channels, the amount of efforts are not reducing across channels through. So, what do you suggest should be the strategy here?
I can get some of your queries, please. You need to shorten it and tell me one second, please.
Vignesh, come again one more time.
Yeah. Actually, he is in all the channels, working on all the channels.
Okay.
I mean, given that 70% of customers prefer reaching me through website, and 30% are distributed across email, phone, or social channels.
Yeah.
The amount of efforts are not reducing across channels, though. What do you suggest should be the strategy here?
Strategy, what I would suggest is first, what kind of generation is handling it, whether it's Gen X or Gen Y or which kind of a customer segment is belonging to. Okay, And then you told that email channel. Email is a completely passive channel right now. Like people sending an email, getting back the reply. It's a to and fro communication. I need to wait for it. So people nowadays prefer a kind of a chat with a kind of a chatbot, digital chatbot, where I can able to chat it and get all my queries mostly. Okay, because right now all the channels, right? For example, we are ordering through Swiggy or Zomato. There is no human touch point at all. Everything is through digital. Okay, finally, we can't even talk to the market at any use cases. Okay, most of the channels are like that. They've taken care of end to end with a digital uh, chatbot itself. So my suggestion is, based on what kind of a customer segment it belongs to, what kind of a domain it belongs to, you need to think through and what kind of a customer it is. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which kind of customer is there? Because there are certain set of customers who want to come through directly, who want to come through email. But my suggestion is all these are reducing drastically because of this Gen X and Gen Ys are coming. Mostly people want to do a kind of a interactive discussion and get all the queries. Even people talking to a call center and getting is coming down drastically. People are very well using a digital chatbot where most of the journeys are going towards it. But because of that, we shouldn't cut down the other channels because still they are our customers. But that will slowly, gradually will keep coming down. That's my say. Because those days we had to write a manual letter. Nobody writes manual letter. And even email is coming down. So the number of email, if you see, it's completely very, very less. Okay. People straight away talk or chat and get the queries. And then people who can't get the queries, they straight away go to social media and keep getting the queries. So my suggestion is we should be in all the channel, but take a decision based on two things: which domain you are there and which kind of customer you are handling.
Yes,
Okay.
here I agree with Balaji where he says which kind of domain you are in. Like for example, you want to book a cab on Ola or Uber, you would use your phone, isn't it? So it is not functional, but it also means that you have to have the website available and working because there would be some other issues, some other references that the customer would require. But if you book your cab on the laptop and then get ready to, your cab would be right there in front of your door. So for your Tata Sky recharge, when you have to select what channels you want to select, you'd probably use your laptop. But when you have to make a payment, just a recharge, your phone is good enough. So it doesn't mean that the customer is not opting for the laptop channel, for the, or the tab, and he's rather calling when his channels aren't functional, he would call you on phone. That doesn't mean he's not using the other channel. Just means that the product is such that some channels are more effective and some aren't so effective. But that doesn't mean, as Balaji says, you cannot say that this channel isn't required. You have to be present.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. So I think the last question is, I think Divakar has raised hand. Diva, you want to go?
Yeah. So in continuation with what Ms. Rukmani was saying at the end, I had a different question in mind, but then once you had answered this question, I got a lot of answers, but I still have one doubt. See, even today, still voice is the number one channel where people still prefer to talk, right? Despite we being present in multiple different channels, whether in social media or in using chatbots or anything. So do you think that this would still continue to be the leading channel where customers would still be wanting, or do you see a way that this would change in the future where companies would do away with these voice channels and come more towards like Zomato's and the Swiggies where we deal with chats and social media, like posting things on the websites than talking to humans?
Very good question, Devakar. Voice will continue because there is always an urgent requirement that a customer would have. And the urgent solutions are not always on chat. Even on Zomato, my recent experience, I placed an order, the food order got cancelled. My account was debited, payment was done, but my order got cancelled. So I had to pick up the phone and say, I'm hungry. My food hasn't come. Now, what are you going to do about that? They say, I'm sorry, ma'am, something has happened. Your orders got cancelled, but placing another order would mean waiting more time. So that was that. So the The channel has to be effective. It will continue to be available. But yes, the usage will reduce because right now voice is used by the older generation. Usage will reduce, but the channel will remain.
Yeah.
I had a thought there because what Rukmani is saying, I faced the exact same thing, but I was able to get an answer through a chatbot itself instead of actually speaking to somebody. So the times are changing, and even if people prefer a voice continue to prefer a voice, you will be talked to by somebody, but you never know whether it will be a human or an Alexa with you, right? So that we are edging towards that is what I'm saying. So yeah, voice is probably the last resort because it needs a physical presence, and from the organization's point of view, it is a cost. So they're trying to reduce. When they're trying to reduce the cost, they cannot do away with it, but reduce to a complete minimum. That is where the entire automated versions of each of these channels come into play.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And my takeaway is this numbers, whichever we give, big toll free or whichever number it is, it's slowly coming down. Those days, if you see, having a toll free is a kind of a business requisite. But right now, people doesn't even have a kind of a toll free number, call center and all. It's coming down, and the new age millennial guys find it quite challenging to talk to anybody because they are happy to chat, and then from the chat they're ready to connect. And even the companies are embracing that. Okay, a manual dialing is coming down drastically. We are happy to connect to a chatbot. From the chat, we can able to connect to anybody because across the world, I don't need to remember any of the number because we do have multiple credit cards, bank. How many times we have spoken to bank numbers, credit card numbers? We are happy to chat with anybody right now and get the solution. So I don't know, like chat is a kind of, the voice which you're calling it, no, it will be a kind of a mandatory right now. It was kind of a mandatory and easy. People wouldn't have thought through multiple other solutions. Okay, the multiple other solution came because of there's a lot of challenging in that, supporting it, because skilling them, that the churn is very, very high in any call center. If you talk to any call center, they'll say the churn is very high, and training them, this is completely challenging because everybody cannot give a kind of a right skill training. And then if anything gets escalated, they need to listen to the voice, they need to train into slow down, mellow down. So all the challenges are there. So that's the reason, like every company is reducing on the call center and trying to engage them through more other channels, alternative channels are available. Okay. If you talk the same thing after 10 years, I would say there will not be any call center.
No, we are talking about continuation of the voice option. Like when I called through the chat. I tried chatting and it kept on giving me, repeat answers. And then I had to speak. So I dialed through the chat option, the dialing option on. Still, the human intervention and the calling and the voice will remain. Yes, call centers may wean out to a large extent, as you rightly say, but voice will remain. I don't know. I stay on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, customers who are having a problem, sometimes they have to talk to someone to get the solution, right? So like there is always going to be some scenarios, some challenges that bots and others may not be able to understand or comprehend what to do with that question. So they will fall back to a live agent somewhere. So that's why, in the beginning of, for example, also Amazon, what we talked about is while it is making everything automated and everything, but they are consciously keeping someone to there to answer and take care of your queries if need be, because that clearly shows that there are certain things that has to be done that way, because that's your last defense to help any customer.
So as of today, I would just add, that's your last line of defense yet today.
Because
you never know how it is going to be tomorrow. It was not whatever you see today. It was not 5 years back.
Absolutely. So for example,
whatever it is today, it may not be the same after a year. I would say I will not even say 5 years. It will not be the same after.
It will be like that. What I foresee is previously. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, the more effective that your other options are, the amount of stress that you have to maintain, keep up that voice part is high. If you are more effective on the automated versions, you will never do that, because there was no, so very simple example is that the brick and mortar of banks, right? There are no branches. I have not visited my branch in the last 5 years, right? I have dealt everything on my phone, my laptop, max to max. I don't even remember calling them. So necessity is the mother of invention. So the more you're inventing to reach out to that necessity, the others will go down. So I will not guarantee, I will not say that it is here to stay. It will go. There are politicians, the AI politicians are able to, they are testing out in the world. So world is moving in that direction. So I don't think that the voice is here to stay. It may not.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I hold on to this view. As a banker, I believe trust is paramount. And as long as trust is important in the human psyche, voice will remain. Like, for example, when, as you rightly said, you've not visited a branch for the last 5 years, but if you are a businessman, normal mortgage loans would come even in an online application. This has happened today. But as a lender, I have been lending for so many years now, making credit appraisals and sanctions. I know for one thing that despite all the documents I get, how do I decide how much I'm going to lend somebody? The numbers will give me an indication as to how much I can lend you. But your intention to repay, ability to repay, intention to repay. Ability to repay are the numbers and the documents, but the intention to repay is the trust I get on meeting you or speaking to you. So, to me, as a banker, I'll continue saying that voice is there to remain the human element. Like when I said initially in my first answer, that the voice of the customer, the tone in which he speaks, gives away a lot. To me, eyes, contact, voice, tone are very important for any of my decision making.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hold on to my
yeah. Good. Yeah.
Okay, we will safely agree to disagree. We will see in 5 years.
Indeed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
So I think
one final summary, what I would say is competition extremely huge. So whichever repetitive in nature, people are automating it. So that's what. So that will bring a lot of automation whenever we see repetitive in nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whatever you are able to predict, whatever you are able to anticipate, then there is a way of automating it. Definitely. Yeah. So okay, so thanks so much for all our panelists. Oh, there are some more new messages. Okay, what is there any more questions there?
No, man.
Okay. Okay, so there is one Krishna Kumar Shivarajan. Relevant related to voice channel. What is the user acceptance level using AI voice usage in real time? Shiva, there's a question from Shiva. What is it? Relevant related to voice channel. What is the user acceptance level using AI voice usage in real time? Do we have any stats on that? Have you come across anything, Balaji, Rukmini ma'am, or Vidhya? User acceptance level using a AI voice.
I think Vidhya would be the right person for this. Yeah. While one thing I can say that user acceptance is an important element before a software is rolled out, isn't it? In what context is this person saying user acceptance?
He's not saying it.
Yeah, can I step in?
Yeah, sure.
In the context of customer support, what it is, and in the context of sales, right? So what is the level of engagement in terms of accepting the sales and in terms of customer support, right? both are two different ways they will interpret.
Basically, you want to understand how much has the consumer accepted your product and how much is he, oh, 1 second. How much has he accepted your product and how much is he likely to buy again? Is that what you're trying to understand?
Yeah, that's right. Even if you talk to him through machine voice, right? You put it on that, right? So if you're,
come again.
yeah, so how the customer will, in terms of accept it, while in terms of introducing your product or the sales call, that's one type of function where the sales team and relevant team will look into it, where the customer support team will engage different set of priorities, where the engagement start with the AI voice instead of human.
Yes, all this can be collected by way of collecting of information from the customer before he purchases and during your responses to him. This can be online. This doesn't need a human intervention. But despite going with Vidya on this, I would say in many countries today, video calls have started and video messaging has started. Like for example, for user experience, like in a bank, once again, I land up with banking examples. As a consumer, I have so much of income, monthly income from my side, my spouse's side, and this is my monthly expenditure. A basic idea would come, you would probably make an input, data entry on the bank's website. You want to open an account. So you input all this data and AI wise, it analyzes and decides I'm a salaried consumer and I'm a consumer having so much of disposable income every month or every quarter. So it would decide for me that I would probably have so much of average balance and I would probably require these conveniences and some other conveniences I would not require based on the customer profile and based on the amount of disposable income. It would immediately give me a suggestion, auto suggestion, that these are two possible products you would like to take from us. And so here are the videos. Which language would you like to listen to? So I don't have to read the fine print. I don't have to interact. And just by going through that, you have the consumer has already got the information. So AI should be so well fed with data, the right data, that when the consumer wants something, it will immediately pick up. So there has to be a lot of history of data before you begin such an exercise. So the consumer, when he applies and when he asks for it, you already know what he's looking for. So you have to do the homework before you launch. Is what I'm trying. Yeah.
So Siva, like you would need a lot of data before expect the success rate to go up on this.
Yeah, that's right. For example, see, introducing new products, right? For example, insurance companies, right? There are many insurance products, right? So to train them, the agents in to understand this product and making it at least level 1 or level 2 level, right? That will take time. We can able to automate. So some of the stuff we did. So that's the reason I tossed towards Indian context in terms of.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So that's where it comes important, you have the right technologies there, helps you record all those your interactions in some way or form, where you collect all the information, valuable information, because whatever the interaction you have today is not just about resolving that particular customer's problem, right? It is about the knowledge, what was the issue, what solution we can give, and is customer happy with that solution, and so what can we learn from that experience. So there are a lot of things to be picked up from each of those interactions. So that's going to make it much better as we move forward. So
you need to connect with more people who have experience in the insurance sector, who have dealt with clients, over so many years. So you would get a lot of information which you can put together to analyze conveniently. You
Yeah.
may not have direct access to data. In that case, you could get into interactions, as Uttaman says, and
Yeah.
with people who have the experience. That will give you the solution.
Solution. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So with that, so I want to thank every one of your participants here to show your support and being part of our Bharat Connect community and help us grow. And would like to have request help from each one of our participants and our panelists to please be part of the Bharat Connect community, and we are open for taking your blogs, your articles, your comments, and whatever the way you could participate to help us with share your knowledge, information, and help our community to grow. Whatever the way form. So recently,
Pleasure.
one of our panelists, Mr. Chandramouli sir, CEO of Shankara Netralia. So he was our panelist, and he is now writing a blog series on our Bharat Connect community. So we are now on the process of finalizing the first the revision, so it's going to come out shortly. So so that's going to be helpful, especially on the healthcare sector and the customer interaction, what they are going through the pandemic, and a lot of different good discussions are coming up there. So like that, whatever the way we could help, we are trying to bridge the gap and bring our contact center related service providers, all companies and all the stakeholders together in a platform. That's what we are trying to do here. So thanks so much, Rukmini ma'am. So we learned a lot from your experience. So looking forward to work with you on a individual session or like a different panel or whatever the way. Okay. So depending upon
Thank you
your
so much.
availability.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Uttaman. Thank you,
Thank you
co-panelists.
so
Thank you
much,
for all the
Balaji.
attendees. Wishing you all the very best.
Yeah, thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, stay safe. And yeah, we thank Vidhya also. She just left, but yeah, a lot of insights. So if any other questions there, they can continue to post and we'll reach out to you.
You can reach out through LinkedIn. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.